Hey, guess what time it is? It's time for Breedinum Radio. Brought to you by Pertnier Outdoors. This is a spring edition, which means it's turkey season, which means there's turkeys out there breeding them. Like getting on top and breeding them. That's what turkeys do. It's pretty cool if you've ever seen it. But anyway, listen to these stories. These are real people from right around the corner who are going out there putting turkeys on the ground. They ain't breeding them no more. You know what I'm saying? It's coming to you live from Slick Willie's basement.
You got some real jargon going on over there.
What do you mean jargon?
Who'd you steal that turkey fan and feet from?
I shot that turkey.
Was that the one you wounded?
No. That's the longbeard I shot last year.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. I shot him right in the head.
Yeah.
When there used to be turkeys in Western New York.
Yeah. I don't know what happened to that.
I don't know. It's got to be some conspiracy theory. I think it was China. China did it.
It's quite possible.
I like your turkey.
Hey, we're in the middle of a podcast.
I don't care.
I do.
You can
wander away.
Tears today.
There was no tears.
Tears? What are you getting emotional, Jim?
Yeah, because I had to come home.
Oh. Yeah, that'll make a man cry.
Yeah.
Especially the ear situation.
Yeah.
Love you, Martha.
I think the turkeys I think they're practicing social distancing.
Yeah, I agreed.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to get you and I together just to chat a little bit about our starts of the season. We've been interviewing everybody else that's been successful, and pretty much the entire Harvey clan is sitting here empty-handed. I think Joe's the only one that shot a bird, right?
Yeah, he's it. Uncle Chris missed one.
Oh, it's a shocker.
Yeah.
So how's that? I mean, what's your opinion on things? I mean, it's very interesting watching all these message boards and watching social media, and what's your take on what's going on? How's your season been so far?
You know what watching social media makes me want to do?
Not have social media?
Just take my phone and freaking hit it with a sledgehammer.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I don't know what the hell's going on. I mean, I got a lot of ground I'm covering between state land, private, stuff that we normally hunt, and then new stuff. And the birds were there, but they're just not there anymore. So
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Adam was up there this morning at camp, and he said it was like the good old days off a roost. He said there was birds gobbling in every which direction. But after that, he said maybe 10, 15 minutes after they came down, they were gobbling away, and then they just shut up, and that was it for the rest of the day. Because I met them down there after I hunted with Howlett, and we figured if there was that many birds there, something was going to happen around the fields by noon. And we covered it up till noon and never saw nothing, heard nothing, saw nothing. So, I mean, I've had one good morning, where the birds were hammering pretty hard, but the hens took them away. And then even that farm now is just dead. And I mean, we've been in there tight to where they were roosted a couple of times, and we're not even hearing them fly down. We're hearing absolutely nothing. So I don't know what's going on.
Are these spots like where you're hunting some of the farmland? And, I know up at camp, there really shouldn't be anybody other than our family, and the immediate people we know. I mean, is there a lot of hunting pressure, you think, or?
Yeah, there definitely is. And there's a freaking guy at camp. I don't know. He's a guy that used to hunt grazers camp. He says, I ran into him the other day because I got there. I had last Friday off, and I hunted with Howlett in the morning, and then I went down there at like 8. And when I pulled in and started putting my stuff on, this guy came driving up out of there. So where I park is at the top of the Finger of Woods. And then normally we would walk down the Finger of Woods onto our neighbor's property, and start hunting the bottom field and go down into the woods and hunt throughout that. well, Dad's been up there more than I have. I think that might have been the first time I'd been up there this season. And Dad's been up there quite a bit. He's been seeing this guy. He's driving down that finger of woods in his truck into the bottom field, then sitting in his truck with his windows down and just hitting the box call. And then he just starts it up and drives away.
Yeah.
And Dad's like, well, no wonder we're not seeing or hearing anything. But, I mean, I don't think they were really in the area to begin with, because I scouted it out before that, and I wasn't seeing them around like I normally do.
Right.
But obviously that is not helping. So he drove up out of there, and he was talking to me. He's like, you know what I would do if I were you? I wouldn't even waste my time. I'm like, well, when you're sitting in your pickup truck down there, it's not going to work for you, bud.
No.
So I ignored him, and I went down there. At 11 o'clock, I heard a bird gobble, but I couldn't make anything happen with it. So
yeah,
normally you get that 11 o'clock gobble, and it's game on. But he hammered hard like 3-4 times, and then just turned and freaking ran away.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not normal for you not to have a bird down, especially as much as you've been able to get out in this first 2 weeks. For you to not have a bird down yet is definitely not normal.
No.
And for, Dad and Uncle Mike and Uncle
Right.
Tim, some really, I would say, pretty successful hunters to not really have anything good to write home about. I mean, I talked to Uncle Mike yesterday morning, and he's just disgusted. He went up north to.
I was wondering how that trip went.
He said he knew there was birds there, but he's like, they just weren't talking. He's like, we were getting in close to them, and but it was, I mean, again, a nasty cold weekend this past weekend. It's just not your first, second week of May type of weather. I mean, how many we've had? What Brian and I were talking today. We've had 5 to 6 like solid freezes, not frosts, like freezes. Like this morning was.
There's been 3 days with snow. I've hunted in the snow 3 days now.
Yeah,
that does not happen in May normally.
No. So I think there's a lot going on. It's super frustrating, and if it was deer hunting, you'd be like, oh well, they must just be on lockdown, or it's the lull or whatever. But it's not. Turkey hunting is just, it's so either they're talking or they're not, and it's boring. It's dead, and it's frustrating. I see the frustration. I'm watching what people are talking about, and there's a lot of people having the same issues, and the people that are shooting birds, it's not like they're going out and every morning it's from hour before sunup to end of hunting time, birds are going nuts. It's like the bird Brian shot, and you'll hear the story about the one that Brian and AJ got. It's been very slow out here for us, and they just so happened to find one bird that hit the ground running and was excited and came right to them. And at almost every story you've gotten, there's been a few that have been like late morning deals where, like the guys from Hunter's Creek, or, Scott is right. I had a chance to hunt with Scott this past week, and the dudes know what they're doing. Scott, it seems like, hanging out with those guys, like Scott's always in the middle of it. Like if something's happening, Scott's was somehow a part of it, not in every situation, but he knows what he's doing. And, seeing him throw his hands in the air on some of these, it's like, wow. It's like,
I mean, I'm just completely baffled, because I mean, I think I was counting it the other day. I've logged over 30 miles, and I would say I've hunted 7 full days, sun up to noon, or, in the woods by 5 until noon. And then I hunted one quick morning before work. But I was adding it up the other day on the days I've hunted, and I've put on over 30 miles, and I'm not seeing scratchings. Like I'm not seeing like tons of sign where you'd be like, oh yeah, I got to hunt this spot. Mm-hmm. I'm just not finding anything. So I don't know what the deal is.
I don't know. So what's your game plan for this weekend and moving forward?
Well, by the sounds of it, they moved back in at camp. So I'm going to probably start there Saturday morning and go from there. I traded my day off this week for today because the weather was going to be so nice. And Friday.
How'd that work out for you?
Crap. It was a beautiful day, really.
It was a
I
nice
got the
day.
got the lawn work done, important things. Hunted till noon, and then I dragged myself around the lawn on the walk behind. It was fun. Type
Nice.
type 2 fun, really.
Yeah. Why aren't you riding the mower?
Because after I put the fence up, I like to push mow the inside and the front.
It's easier to avoid the landmines with the bush mower.
Oh no, you got to pick the landmines up before you get started.
Yeah. Do you pick the dog shit up, or do you just let it sit there?
Oh, I pick it up.
Yeah. Do you remember that place we used to mow with? I don't know if it was with Shannon or Dan Thayer, that place called Shit Pen, where it was just that small backyard. And do you remember that place?
That might have been with Dan Thayer because I wouldn't have known that.
Because that was off Clover Street, and Chris and I would always we'd always flip a coin to see who had to do it because it was a small little fenced in backyard, and they you couldn't push mow it. It was so small, and you also just couldn't because there was so much shit in there. So you had to weed eat it, and it was always a flip of a coin. And, you're in there just weed eating back and forth, and you're just praying to Lord Jesus you don't hit a hot steamer in there that's going to ruin your day.
No, I think the push mower does a better job anyways, I think. So,
yeah.
But.
So, yeah, I'm interested to see, with the weather warming up here and, maybe getting some hens on nests and maybe some of the gobblers not being, because that's what I've been personally experiencing on our property out here is birds are they've got hens with them and they aren't they might gobble once or twice on the roost and then they hit the ground and they're silent.
I think the combination between them having hens and pressure.
Yeah.
Because that block of woods and them hunting with Howlett, there should be absolutely no reason why those birds leave other than pressure. So, and there was another guy in there when we were there. He was right on the property line, and now there's a ground blind up in the next field over. So, it's getting whacked. So,
yeah, it'll be an interesting few weeks coming up here. And, I think I'm kind of in a spot, and I said this to Brian chatting tonight, that, if things don't change dramatically and you don't see some birds move into the area that aren't currently there, I can't see myself feeling good about shooting that one gobbler that we're seeing on the farm. I can't see myself wanting to do that. I want to shoot a turkey, but I also, especially hearing some of these podcasts and hearing some of the science behind, the nesting success and, what's going on and the importance of good brooding weather. It's like, just all of those factors right now. I'm kind of second guessing whether I want to even shoot one off of our family property out here.
I'm shooting the first one I see. I don't care what the beard length is on it.
Hey, it's your decision.
I went from I'm going to shoot a long beard only to I'm going to shoot whoever the hell walks in front of me and gobbles.
Yeah.
So
hey, to each his own. I
won't shoot two of them, but I'm going to get one.
Yeah.
I won't pass up an opportunity on one. But
nope, that's why you got the tags. You can make those decisions. But I think there's a lot of people. I don't know. I'm speaking for other people. I think there's certain people in certain places that are not seeing birds and that are probably either just not going to go out the rest of the season or are going to be very choosy as to whether they pull that trigger or not.
Yeah. I had that picture at camp. I think it was beginning of April. There was a gobbler with like 10 hens. And I'm just sitting there looking at that going, that's going to be a tough bird to hunt.
Yeah.
So, that might be a lot of what's going on. There might just be, lopsided numbers that, the gobblers don't even need to work for it.
Right.
But I got a trail cam picture from back in the valley on April 1st. Of 4 jakes just beat redheads just running up the hill.
Yeah.
So
Have you run into any Jakes up there up at camp yet, or is it just been?
I've only hunted there like twice, and the one bird that I had going was definitely an older bird.
Yeah.
But I gotta believe I think Adam said there was like 4 down the one block this morning, and I'm sure it was the Jakes just being stupid and the one good bird.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they're there. I know the neighbors to the south of us have shot a few, and I didn't really hear if they were Jakes or Longbeards, but I think they were good ones.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just weird, they're just not doing what they normally do.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like you go down to camp and there's not hardly a bud on any of the trees yet. So I think everything is super behind. And they also had super nice weather through March. So I think they could have got some stuff done in March and April. And things might just be kind of that mid-May that we normally see, where we're expecting it to be hot in the beginning of May. It's already past that point. I don't know.
Maybe it'd be interesting to, we're just a couple dummies. We don't really have the science behind it. It'd be interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of further discussion after this season where you might hear, some more like biologists and people like that might have some scientific opinions on why we've seen what we've seen so far. It's every year we say like, oh man, it's been such a cold beginning of May or a cold April. And, I think we all just like forget about how that's like pretty normal for us around here. So
I think this year's definitely been a little different because I was done snowmobiling in the beginning of March, and that normally doesn't happen.
Right. That's true.
So that was a little odd. And it was because it was so freaking warm right off the bat. So they might have been fired up a little early there this year.
Yeah. So you went up north for a quick hunt. What day was that? Was that Sunday?
Yeah.
Anything doing up there?
We had a hen that was talking to us. He said he hasn't seen the gobblers in about a week.
Who are you talking? Jim?
Jim. Yeah. Father-in-law. So they were eating right at the bird feeder. And he said on opening day, he was going to go out and hunt, and he ended up having to do some work stuff. So he couldn't hunt. And he said the hen came out in the yard, got up on the wood pile. He's got a big log pile out in the yard. The hen got up on the log pile, and the gobbler strutted around it gobbling for an hour and a half trying to get her to come down.
Oh my God. That's hilarious.
I'm like, you should have shot him then because now we can't find him.
Right.
But no, so he's got to be around somewhere. He thinks maybe one of the neighbors shot him, but there's only one neighbor up there that would shoot him, and it's right up the hill. So I got to believe he would have heard a shot in the morning or something. But
right,
those birds up there kind of move along. They start in one spot and then they disappear. Kind of like the same thing that's going on at home. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what we get coming here in the coming weeks. So like this week on Breedinum Radio, on our series here, we're going to have Brian and AJ telling their story, and then we're going to have Jamey Mann tell his story. And we've got a few more in the works of birds that were shot over the last week here. But we had a flurry of them in the first week and only gave a few of the stories out. So we're going to have the other, these three guys tell their story on this episode. And then you're going to get the other ones caught up.
Kind of nice that it worked out like this, because with work and trying to hunt every day and trying to roost every night, it's like, I'm glad I had some stockpiled from last week for this week. And I talked to a couple of the guys today, and we're going to try to get them recorded, in the next couple of days while it's rainy and crappy out. We'll try to get their stories from this week, and we'll have some more for next week.
For sure. Looking forward to it. It's been fun. And I think it's fun listening back to the stories and hearing how it went down for everybody. There's definitely some good tactics to learn and scenarios to go through, especially, some of the more detailed discussions that, listening to Jamey and Scott, they were making some pretty aggressive moves on those birds that they've shot. So it's kind of cool hearing some of the strategy behind that and what they were doing there. So it's good stuff.
I'd love to try that on a bird if I could find it.
I know, right? You should be taking that fan out with you. That big.
Got it.
You do?
Oh yeah, it's in my pack all the time. I'm just waiting for one to reap.
Man, I had a couple situations where I could have used that this year.
Oh man, I just we're crossing fields and I'm ready to just grab the thing and pop it open in case a bird sees us crossing the field.
Why don't you just keep it open when you're crossing fields? Did you see the hunting public video where Jake had that one run in at him? I mean, that
was unfreaking believable.
Yeah, but I don't know. It makes you think. I mean, you should probably, if you're crossing a field like that, I mean, you might not see a turkey, but he could be just inside the woods watching.
Right. Yeah, I mean, most of the time you see people use these things, they're actually on birds. They know that a bird is there and they kind of go at it with it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I figured by this point I would have seen a bird strutting in a field to go try it on, but I have not done that yet.
All right, a couple quick hot takes for you before we move on and get to the stories. Number one, Dad sent me a picture that he saw on, I think it was like one of the New York outdoor pages on Facebook, like New York Hunt Club or New York Antler Outdoors or something. I could have it totally wrong, so I don't want to make any of those guys, or say anything that would make those folks sound bad. But let me find this picture that Dad sent me. Tell you,
was it the guy that was biting a turkey by the head?
Yeah, that is classified as a complete jackass. New York Hunt Club on Facebook. And I don't know if that post is taken down or if it's still up there, but
oh no, it's still up there.
So I was reading, and there was a shitload of comments on that.
Oh yeah.
I didn't look at them. Dad just sent me a screenshot, but it's like, so
I went through a bunch of them.
What were people saying?
A lot of people were, that it's not very tasteful and that's not my style, but I guess whatever you want to do. And then a lot of people were just like, well, there's too many freaking snowflakes in here and blah blah blah.
Oh my God.
People supporting it basically.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, there's a article in the New York Outdoor News that just came in the mail today about social media and posting of stuff like that, and it's been a popular topic, kind of like the grip and grin type stuff, but that sort of thing goes to a whole nother level. It's one thing to take a picture with your turkey or take a picture with the deer, but like this guy's shirt off with his gun in his hand and the head of the turkey in his mouth. And this guy's like a barbarian with this. It's like, you are a jackass and you make all of us hunters look like idiots.
Yeah. I don't get what the point is.
And who would want to bite a turkey's head? That shit's disgusting. What would you? But
probably the same type of person would want to post a picture of it.
Correct. Yeah. For that. So I bring it up just because I think it's important, and I like the message of that article, what the guy was talking about, that, all of us are ambassadors for hunting and fishing in the outdoors and all the stuff that we talk about. And we, we try to keep ourselves pretty lighthearted and humorous and we have a good time. But when it comes to respecting the animal and respecting the fish and, just the outdoors in general, we've all been young and dumb and done some stupid shit, but you gotta think before you post this stuff online, because all it takes is one picture or one thing and you could turn a whole group of people against, the outdoors. And we're the minority right now. We're not the majority when it comes to,
there was
people out there doing that.
Same kid did a similar picture with a deer last year.
Really?
Yeah.
So he's probably doing that just to stir the pot. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, who knows?
What the hell was the other thing I wanted to ask you about?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of people. That's just not tasteful.
No. Shit. I had something else I really wanted to ask you.
Bueller. You did have two things, and we've only covered one of them.
I know. And I was thinking about the other one first, and then I said that one, and I forgot. Let me think here for a second. What are you drinking?
Just water, man. Trying to survive over here.
Yeah. Shit, what was it? Oh, I know what it was. So this past weekend on Friday, or this past Friday, there was that shooting out in Lockport. And I wanted to kind of get your. We don't really talk a whole lot about, hunter safety and stuff like that on this podcast, but I think I don't know what happened there exactly. I think it's kind of. What's that, Martha? You got something to say?
She was calling the dog. She wants the dog to go to bed with her.
Oh, okay. Is that you? Are you the dog or?
Yeah, might as well be one of the three of them.
Yeah. You get red rockets in the morning too, or what?
Hey, we're still trying to podcast over here.
So that's kind of bizarre how that you read that article or you heard what happened there.
I read it. I didn't see any follow up on it. I don't know if they found the shooter or
They did find the shooter.
So what did they come up with from that?
Well, I don't know exactly what the guy's story is. I think what I read, and if it's on Facebook, it has to be true. But I think the guy, it doesn't matter who the individual was, because that could be right or wrong what that info was. But so you got two people going onto a piece of property that they have permission to hunt, is the way that the story goes. Right. And when they were moving into the piece of property, they saw a couple decoys out in the field. So they turned around to leave and walk out, and they got shot in the back. And
the one guy got shot right in the face. The other guy got shot in the back and the neck.
Okay. So the one guy was still facing.
Yeah. And the other guy, when the shot went off, he went to turn around away, and then he got shot.
Yeah. So there's some really funky business going on there. God only knows what happened, but I think from the hunter safety perspective, it's a no-brainer that you gotta, especially turkey hunting, there's no excuse if it's in an open field. I mean, for God's sakes, but you gotta see what you're shooting at. And, you can't, at 5:50 in the morning, if you're going to be getting ready to take a shot, like, you can see 40 yards, 50 yards. And if you're going to decide to pull your gun up and put your sights on something, you got to verify what it is that you're looking at before, and you can only shoot a male turkey right now. So it's like,
there's absolutely just no excuse for it. I mean, the guy had to be shooting in movement. I mean, you can't even come up with an excuse for that.
No.
And I was talking with Mike about it because I think we went hunting the next day or something. And I was just like, that is absolutely ridiculous that that's something you even need to worry about walking into the woods.
Right.
Because like me and him, we went into this property for the first time this year. We go in, we set up in a hedgerow. Gobblers are going. And then, down the other end of the hedgerow from us in the woods, we're hearing a hen, and the jakes are gobbling. And the big gobblers gobbles a couple of times, but then I got the jakes going, but then that hen piped up more. And then after like probably 4 or 5 minutes of it, I looked at Mike and I go, that's another hunter. That bird hasn't moved an inch. And he was like, really? And I'm like, yeah. And sure as shit, probably 10 minutes of this goes on and the bird still has not moved. And I'm just like, that's definitely a hunter. And then shortly after that's when all the deer spooked the turkeys away. And when we got up to walk away, in the field behind us, there was a pickup truck parked there. And it's just like, we came in the complete pitch dark. It's like we had no idea another guy was sitting on the property line with us. It's like, just to think of stuff like that, and then hear that shit from Lockport, it's like, it's tough to even have to think about that walking into the woods, because I can't even fathom pulling my gun up if I'm not 100% sure of what I'm pulling it up on.
Right. And you and I, we've had that experience where we had somebody come in on us when we were working birds, and had that guy and his two sons actually, work, and they came right down the hedgerow and shot at birds behind us in the field, and we could hear the BBs zipping through the trees right behind us. It's like you can understand, in that's just poor. And like, so you have the awareness. You mentioned, like, you picked right up on the fact that person or that hen calling was probably a person because it was not moving.
Right.
And if you're like, if you are a new hunter or somebody who hasn't spent a lot of time in those scenarios, hasn't had somebody point that out to you, like Mike is new to turkey hunting. He probably never would have picked up on that unless you said that to him. Right. I mean, so
yeah,
you can see how it can happen, but still you got to be super aware of your surroundings and know who's hunting your property. And that's where, like, you hear these stories about trespassing and stuff. Like, that's the biggest concern to me with trespassing, especially during turkey like this, because you're getting in so close, you're not wearing any orange. And if you don't know that somebody else is in there because they're not supposed to be in there, like, it's just asking for something to go wrong. A trespasser is a bad deal.
Wasn't that on opening day that happened to us?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and that guy was trespassing on opening day with absolute mayhem going on. I mean, there was 7-8 jakes. There was a big gobbler.
Yeah.
And for him to come in on that on opening day and hear us calling and not moving.
Right.
I mean, I can't even fathom. Like, he brought his two kids in, set up behind us. I let the jakes go by, and then his kids started shooting at the jakes, and the BBs are spraying across the field behind me.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what? How do you, like, and, there's a longer backstory on that, but it's just like, we got yelled at when he bought the property because we were trespassing when we didn't know somebody bought the property, and we always hunted it.
Right.
And then he yells at us for hunting his property. And then the next opening day, he comes charging in on us off of his property. Right. That's just like, unbelievable.
Well, yeah. I mean, that sort of stuff is going to happen when you have new people in hunting, new owners or new people. Things change, but it still doesn't change the fact that turkey hunting, you gotta be super aware of what's going on around you and who's hunting where. And even if everybody's hunting on their own property, neighbors need to be aware of general areas where neighbors are going to be, because everybody seems to head towards a property line, like, where do you set up? No, that's you go to a property line,
That's what I was talking with Mike about today. I was like, I go, why is it that it just seems like no matter where you are, you want to be on the property line? I'm like, it does not matter where you are. It's like, if you're on state land, you're like, man, the property line looks good there. If you're on your buddy's farm, you're like, man, that property line looks great.
Well, I think it's because property lines typically have some sort of edge, whether it's a field edge or it's, you've got this guy had a stand of pines and this guy's got hardwoods, whatever. Like, it's you watch a hunting public, where are they always hunting? They're hunting on edges, because that's where the game is. So it makes sense, but it just adds so many opportunities for something to go wrong. But
moral of the story is, don't be a dumbass and point your gun at something if you don't even know what the hell it is.
Yeah. That is the moral of the story.
Cause like, I hear, everybody that you talk to that's like, oh, if you're going to try to reap a turkey, I wouldn't do it on public. Make sure you're on private. And it's just like, to me, I'm sitting there thinking about it going, if you can't tell that that's a freaking fan that some asshole is crawling behind with a gun in his hand,
right,
then you should not be in the woods. Right. Because I would never mistake that for a real turkey.
No.
It's unbelievable. But just identify your target and make sure you know what the hell you're shooting at, basically.
Mm-hmm. It's a good point, Jimbo. All right, we'll wrap.
Just keep feeding them.
Just keep feeding them. If at the end of the day, if you're not feeding, you ain't breeding. Yeah.
No.
So
I think that's a lot of what they're doing right now is just breeding.
Yeah, just up on top, just breeding them.
I don't know if you've ever seen it before.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You know what I'm saying? Oh man, people probably think we're a bunch of idiots.
I was laughing my ass off at that intro. That was good. Good.
Yeah. I have a lot of time on my hands right now, and I just walk around thinking about a lot of stuff. And I wonder how many people turn our stuff on and then turn it right off. when they hear my stupid ass with these with these stupid introductions, but whatever.
Yeah.
You know, we're trying to have fun. So
Yeah.
if you don't like it, go listen to somebody else. But we love you,
Sweet.
everybody who's listening. We appreciate the shit out of it. So we're having fun, and we're gonna keep going with it. So
What else you got to do? You know,
I got this professional microphone thing here. You see that?
yeah, we'll have to put that video up on YouTube.
That's like a shake weight. All right,
All
I'm gonna
right.
go. Can you load this audio up in there for me so I can grab it and put it with
I'll get it all up in there.
Oh, yeah. Put it in there. Yeah. All right. Good luck, bud.
Alrighty.
AJ, you want
On this
to start? Or?
You can.
on this episode of Breedinum Radio, we got the very own Brian, aka Trigger, and AJ on to tell us a story here about their turkey that they got the other day. What day did you guys get that bird? Sunday.
Right.
So I guess to open this story up, I'm just wondering how many times in total this turkey got shot at.
We each took a crack at him. Brian cleaned up my mess.
Nice. So I'll just leave it to you guys. I'll let you guys tell the story how you want to, from whichever side you want, and then just let the other one take over from there and let us know how you finally got him on the ground.
Brian, you can go. You can start the story.
All right. The season started pretty slow, so I went Saturday morning, I think, at like 7 o'clock, I went to a property that me, Billy, and AJ all have permission to hunt, and it's next to AJ's family farm. So I did hear some gobbling there, so me and AJ decided to go back to the same spot Sunday morning, just see what we could, we're hoping we'd hear the same thing. And we didn't get to go in exactly where we wanted. There was the landowner that we had permission from was having a little something, I don't know. They were camping overnight, so we parked the next driveway down, so that took us right into AJ's family land there, and we were planning on hitting that and going towards the other property, and we ended up hearing a gobble there. So that was about it. I thought it was a person gobbling. It was such a crappy gobble, and we contemplated even hanging out, and we started walking away, and it gobbled once more. And it's like, all right, it's a turkey. We're going. I don't care what it is, Just trying. AJ hasn't had a lot of. AJ, have you ever had a turkey answer or come in or anything?
Yeah, I mean, I've had him answer, but I've never been that close to turkeys like we were on Sunday, been able in shooting range. So I had no clue. I've had him answer 3 times before to me.
Yeah. Is that your second year hunting, and you and Billy hunted some, and you hunted some by yourself, right?
Yeah, I think this is my 3rd year. I think this will be my 3rd year of turkey, but really the 2nd year. I think the 1st year I didn't really do too much. Maybe one out one.
I know you. Yeah, you and Billy hunted some last year, and we hunted once together last year. But
yep,
It's pretty much equal to hunting with yourself when you're hunting with Billy,
That's mean, but sometimes the truth hurts,
So you ended up going after him, right?
Yeah, I mean, we were right in the corner of a field when we heard him, and we just walked 5 yards into the woods, and there was like a 2 or 3 foot around the maple tree, and we both just sat on that and shot the shit for a half hour while he was gobbling on the roost, and kind of just going over what hopefully might happen, what could happen, if it actually happens, what AJ should do, I've made a lot of mistakes, so I'm trying to run over keep your head down so you don't shoot over them, don't move, all the classic stuff. And AJ had a lot of good questions, and when you know it.
And I made the mistakes. You know what you warned me not to do, I did.
Well, that's kind of how it works. But he flew down, and I didn't call to him on the roost. He was gobbling good. He flew down. He gobbled once or twice. We were sure he was on the ground. I called a few times. He didn't answer. It didn't seem like he wanted anything to do with us. I think I switched calls. Still didn't answer. I tried a little more aggressive, and then he just pretty much cut me off. And I think he only gobbled a few times after that. And he just basically kind of ran in. But I don't know, he gobbled once, and he had to be 40 or 50 yards, and we couldn't see him yet. And that was when I was pretty sure he was coming in, But
So who shot first, AJ?
Yeah, I did. Brian gave me the chance to shoot my first bird. So he was 30 yards out. And one of the things Brian told me was, make sure you're looking down the barrel of the gun. Don't be looking at the turkey. So I lifted my head up and was looking at the turkey right before I shot, and I shot over him. The bird took off and flew to the right of us, almost right over top of us, and Brian shot him, 15 yards in front of us out of the air.
so
is that the first time you ever shot a flying turkey, or is this a regular occurrence?
Not the first time. And I always picture it being a lot prettier than it is.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't even think about it.
There was no question.
No. Yeah.
With yours.
But,
so did it fold like a pheasant and just come tumbling down, or what happened?
Yeah, it hit like a goose that you shot from 50 yards in the air. He just folded. But it was a little disappointing because I was really hoping, and the only reason I wanted to go with AJ was to hopefully get him a chance, which it worked out pretty good. I was hoping it was going to end a little different, and I felt kind of bad for wasting the thing as soon as he started flying, but
it's hard though when you get one of these things that come in. It's kind of like,
don't waste it.
We finally got one to come in. You got to just put it down somehow,
Yep.
Just seize the opportunity.
Yep, I got my opportunity.
I was hunting with Billy one time, and I called these 3 birds off the side hill, and they came right down past Billy, and I'm like, why is he not shooting? And they walked parallel to him, and I was 70 yards behind him on the other side of the valley, trying to call the birds over to him. And they came down past him, across the valley to me, and then I could see all their heads. They started poking up on the other side of the logging road, and all I had was their heads. And they were turning and started to putt and started to walk away. And one stuck his head up to make one last look to see what was around. And I freaking dusted him right there at 50 yards with his head poking up over. And Billy jumps up. He's like, man, I thought they were coming right back to me. I'm like, well, they came across in front of you once. So
that's the thing. We could have probably let him get a little closer, but I don't know what you said, AJ, but you're like, is he in range or something? And I'm like, kind of looked, and it's like, yep. Yeah. As soon as you can see him or whatever, you might as well. And yeah, maybe if he would have got closer, maybe you would have hit him. I don't know, but I don't know if he would have came much closer.
He was running right at us. But
was he still running when you shot?
When I shot, yeah. I mean, he was kind of going side to side a little bit because there's a creek right where I shot him. But I think he was trying to cross the creek, and then he was heading right to us in the cornfield.
He was kind of coming in suicide, but the problem is when you don't have, we ran out of the cover between us.
Yeah.
So we had a really good setup. We had 30 yards of open, and then it was pretty good cover. You couldn't really see through. So that's what got him to commit right to us.
So was that the shitty gobble, or do you think there was a second gobbler in there?
There was
there was a couple. Seemed like a couple birds gobbling on the roost, but I don't know why he was the only one that came in.
I also maybe it was just the timing of everything. We never listened for anything else. The first bird that came in, we focused on him, and that was it. So maybe there was more on the ground. We just didn't notice or see him.
Yeah. He had a beard swinging.
Yeah.
We didn't need to focus on anything else.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
Good gobble. So.
Yeah, because we had on the roost on Sunday, we had one good bird going, and then you could hear all the little gobblers. You know, he would sound off, then they'd all start gobbling over each other.
Yeah.
And then once they hit the ground, he gobbled like twice. And then there ended up being, you could tell there's 3 jakes in a group running around, and they were just hammering over the top of each other. And I finally decided to start calling and go after them. And the jakes were coming in, and the gobbler, he had to have his head about on the edge of the field when he gobbled, because he couldn't have been very far off the edge of the field. But I think he was with a hen that was taking him back to the west, and we were on the east edge. So we knew he was going out of play, but the jakes were still coming. But then freaking heard a deer come flying out of the woods. I don't know if somebody was over on the north edge of the woods and they got up to move or something and spooked a bunch of deer, but they came flying out of the woods and we never heard another gobble after that.
That's the problem with this time of year. We went this morning and there was deer running everywhere. And it's like, what do you do with that? You know?
I know. I go into my buddy's farm and it's like, I was sneaking around. We only hunted the one farm till 8. And then I went over to hunt his other farm, where we've gotten into birds in the past. And I've circled his whole woods. And then I went out into this finger of woods. And I'm like, I'm just going to sit here till 11 o'clock or so, because I know they've been here in the past. If they break off of hens in one of these other blocks of woods, maybe they'll come over and start looking around. And I know sooner get almost to the tip of the finger of woods, and I jumped a buck out of his bed. He actually had pretty good horn already. And he went running off. So I go over there to look at his bed, see if his sheds are laying there, just out of shits and giggles. And I'm looking at his bed, and I look out in the field, and there's like 8 deer coming across the field at me. This is like 10 o'clock in the morning. And they come walking through the woods, and a bunch of them keep going. And the last one freaking walks right in like 40 yards from me and beds down. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? So now if I move, I'm going to spook every single deer in this block of woods. And it's going to be mayhem.
Yeah.
So I gave it like I gave it like 45 minutes, and I stood up, and she freaked out and ran off. But there wasn't any turkeys in there anyway, so it didn't matter.
So the whole time, which was all of like 3 minutes that bird was coming in, I didn't even like pick my gun up, because no intention of shooting, but my heart was freaking pounding. I was breathing hard, you know, and I'm looking at AJ. He seems all right, but it's like, you know, I'm wondering if he's going to hear me huffing and puffing next to him on the tree. And, you know, it just doesn't get any better than having a turkey come in like it's supposed to, you know?
Oh yeah.
What are the chances? You know, it happens like that every year, but then you think it's going to happen again. It doesn't. But
I was expecting it this morning again.
What's that?
I was expecting it to happen again this morning for us.
Yeah, I was hoping.
Yeah, I was contemplating. I had Friday and Monday off, and it took me till Sunday to hear a gobble, and they only gobbled till 7 o'clock in the morning. So I don't know if they're still henned up heavy or what, but it looks like we're going to be getting some colder weather here at the end of the week. So yeah. I decided to go back to work, take Friday off instead of Monday. I'm thinking if there's any nests on the ground, the hens are going to have to be sitting on them quicker. So hopefully the gobblers will be freed up.
See, from what I read, they won't sit on them until they're ready to incubate. So I don't know if the eggs have to stay a certain temperature. I don't think they sit on them at all until they're ready to incubate. So that's what I read. I read quite a bit about it last year, and maybe I'm completely wrong, but from what I read is they'll lay an egg a day, you know, or maybe not every day, but they'll lay like an egg a day, I think, until they're happy with their nest size or whatever, and until they're ready to sit on it. And then once they sit on it, they got to keep that egg
Right.
like 90 some degrees for 28 days straight
Jesus.
to incubate it. It's amazing that a turkey even can hatch eggs, you know?
I know. I mean, I think they were saying last year was a bad hatch, and I kind of believe it because it doesn't seem to be the number of birds around that you see even out in fields when you're driving around, you know. I travel for work, and I'm not seeing near the amount of birds that I normally see out in fields, you know, in the regular spots. Normally you got the spots you drive by and there's going to be birds out just, you know, along the expressway or whatever. And I have not been seeing them this year. So I don't know.
And I would say that there was more.
Really?
Like a week and a half ago.
Right.
It seemed like more than normal that we were seeing visible and stuff like that, but just, I don't know. They're just not talking much, or.
Yeah, I don't know if they knew the cold weather was coming and just, I don't know if they're focusing on breeding and now they're going to be worrying about sitting on their nests or what. I have no idea what's going on, but it was the slowest opening weekend I've ever had.
Yeah. AJ had some gobbling though.
Yeah, opening morning I had. Well, that's another story.
Let's have it. You know.
I got out around 5 o'clock in the morning. Got my spot right next to a cornfield along our property line of ours, and it was about 6:30 ish. This guy walks out from another property line along the hedgerow in the same cornfield. Walks probably 10 feet by me, never sees me. Stands in the middle of the cornfield, and at that point, you know, it was about the time they're coming off the roost, I think. So I got them returning, talking back to me, gobbling back. He hears them gobble, runs across the cornfield, because the gobbles were coming from the opposite end of the cornfield that I was in, runs across straight to the gobble. He's out of view. He takes a shot. So it's like 6:30, I see him. He takes a shot by 7 o'clock. He's walking back with a bird past me by 7 o'clock, and it was dead silent after that point. But I mean, I had he said there was at least 4 or 5. There was at least 2 toms, I think he said, and the rest were jakes in that area. But he shot one and walked by. It was dead silent after that. Never heard anything else.
So was he in your property or was he on the neighboring property?
No, it was on the neighbor's property there.
I was going to say, you couldn't get a shot at him?
At him? No, they were in the woods. There was a ravine on the other side of the cornfield. They were in there.
So, have you been back out there since? Are you still hearing birds out there? Or?
I haven't been back in that same area. But Sunday morning, we heard that birds where we got the one, and that was it.
Where'd you guys go today?
Same spot that we shot on. Figured we'd find the other few that we thought were gobbling that morning.
No go, huh?
Billy was with us, so yep, no go.
That makes sense.
So it seems like AJ has pretty interesting luck throughout his hunting career for the last few years. A lot of interesting things happen to him. And no matter what I'm doing, it's messed up. So I think we make a pretty good team because something stupid is going to happen if we hunt together.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that's inevitable. But I do kind of want to hear.
I bring them in and Trigger will finish it.
But I do want to hear your take on the whole thing, AJ. I know that was, it was just the whole your take on the morning. I know it was it was your first experience of a turkey actually coming in.
Oh my God. It was amazing. I think I was telling you before, until that morning, I never knew when they're gobbling on the roost, how far away they are or anything. So It was an eye opener of how close when I hear them. Being able to judge distances, I guess, is a main thing. And then, I think I said it to you before. I don't get the adrenaline, I think, like Billy does. I don't shake. like that. Yeah, it's still an amazing feeling to hear him gobble or to see him to run in the way he did that morning. Yeah, that's. I can't wait. I hope it happens again this year for me.
What about that last gobble before we could see him? It's like,
Oh yeah.
Right on
oh
top.
crap!
Yeah.
He's
here.
coming.
When you hit that moment that you realize that thing's coming into your lap, you're like, oh boy, here it goes.
Going through that checklist of what not to do. And yeah,
I'm sure you guys stay at it. You'll get another shot. It's early yet.
Yep. It's a long month.
Yep.
Especially this year, it seems like we got a little extra time on our hands. So.
Well, I've never seen so many people turkey hunting in my life.
I know.
It's pretty discouraging. Me and Billy got permission to hunt the property behind my house, and I don't even want to say how many. There's just say a few turkeys.
Yeah.
That I watch nightly. I watch them in the afternoon. I watch them in the morning.
Yeah.
And opening morning, there was like 5 vehicles there. It's like 100 some acres. And guess what? I did see one group again Saturday night, I think. But I don't really think they're talking much back there.
Probably not.
Ramming up and down the so where I see the birds go, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, don't give away any information here.
I just don't think that what the guys are doing, I don't even think they would even come out of the tree, to be honest. And if
so they're doing exactly what they should be doing, is what you're saying.
I'm pretty sure if they are where, if what's going on over there, what I think it is, some things would either just stay in the tree all day, or they're going to launch and fly like 3 miles and hit a field somewhere and just.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I've found when you get landowners that are willing to give you permission. Normally there's another 3-4 guys there that got permission too, at least.
Yeah. Me and Billy watched a guy walk out with a long beard open in the morning. He was parked right behind my house.
Yeah.
And I seen those birds pretty much roost. I was watching them all night till dark on Thursday night. There was 2 longbeards there, so there's at least one less.
Yeah, I'm hoping we give it, a week or 2 here and pressure dies down. Everybody's hot to trot, and then after you do 4 or 5 mornings of waking up at 4 a.m, everybody dies off a little bit.
The cold morning will probably help them die off there too, right? No one really wants to get up in the cold.
Yeah, maybe.
I'd love to shoot a turkey in the snow. I'm hoping we get a little snow.
Sounds like it. Thought they said something about snow tonight.
That would make a good video.
Right.
All right, fellas. I gotta get Scott Murray on here. So you boys go worry about killing another one, and then we'll do another one of these.
Sounds
Happy
good.
de Mayo.
Yeah, you too. See you guys.
All right, see you.
See you, buddy.
Back with me this week on Breedinum Radio is Jamey Mann. He was on last week with his son Carter for a youth hunt story. And he's back again to share his own success story. So I believe it was yesterday morning, right?
Yeah, it was yesterday on the 5th.
Very nice. So I was on with Scott last night, and he was like, make sure you get a hold of Jamey because he got one this morning. I'm like, go figure. I'll have to hit him up.
It was awesome, I'll tell you. I mean, it doesn't get old, that's for sure.
Well, the Hunters Creek boys are doing pretty good this year.
Yeah, we're we're rolling along pretty well. I mean, let's be honest, the weather's been good, and let's be real honest, having all the extra time off has been nice to scout, and
Yeah,
it definitely helps. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I thought that was the direction it was going to take me, but I've been in for a curveball on the start of my season. So I see you took Billy out too, and that seems to be the same case for him. So,
just when you think you got them figured out, and
yeah.
it just, they throw you a curve. It happens all the time.
Oh, yeah.
It's fun.
So how did it all happen?
Well, I mean, I owe a big salad to my boy Scott, because he pretty much did the legwork on this one. Knew this bird was there. I believe they hunted him the day before. Maybe they stopped there, something, and they had some action or whatever. And he kind of called me up and was like, we should really hit this, first thing tomorrow. And I was like, yeah, man, let's do it. And so we didn't have the bird roosted, but obviously we knew, he wasn't going to go that far. So it was nice. Scott picked me up. We went over, hit the spot, and we were really honestly just walking back. The bird already started gobbling, so probably we should have been there probably 10 minutes earlier or so. But gobbling good on the roost. He probably gobbled 30-40 times on the roost, and we probably got 200 yards from him. And I thought, again, kind of like we just said, they throw you the curveball whenever they want to, I guess. But I was like, in my head, I'm thinking, wow, this could really happen, and it could happen pretty quick. So, and just about as quick as that optimistic thought crossed my mind, he stopped gobbling and never gobbled again. So,
Oh boy.
Yeah, it was really weird. I don't know what happened. Just as it was getting pretty light, like I was surprised the bird was still on the roost, and I'm like, he's gonna fly down any minute. And it got quiet for like 10 minutes or so, and it usually happens when they fly down. So I thought, perfect. We started calling to him, and boom, it was like nothing. It was like he got lockjaw in like a 15-minute time span, and that was it. So, we kind of just sat there, and we were just like, I guess one of my biggest things, and not that I don't like to say preach it, but I always tell people was like, well, what happens when they go silent? Just because they go silent doesn't mean they're not there.
Right.
Obviously, we don't know what happens. Does somebody else scare them?
Could be a number of things. It could be a coyote, could be another hunter, could be, maybe he's just with hens. He doesn't care about you. I mean, you have no idea.
Yeah, you have no clue. But, at least that the bird was there. So we were like, you know what, let's just be patient, see what happens. And we sat there for probably, I would say probably good 15 minutes or so. And then, Scott made a call, and I was like, did you hear that? And he was like, no. I was like, call again, calls again. I was like, did you hear that? And he's like, no. So then he called, and he heard it, and I didn't hear it. I was like, dude, I'm telling you, that's a bird, and it's a long ways away, but that's a bird gobbling. And sure enough, he was like, oh, let's just move down the woods. And, we moved probably, 30 yards or so, and just kind of, it's like a big, obviously we're a little late in the weather here, and everything's wide open. I mean, we could literally see 200 yards through this hardwoods.
Yeah.
And, bird gobbles again, and now we know it's a bird gobbling for sure. And, this bird's coming, like, and he's coming quick. He probably, the last time he gobbled, he's right down below us. And I thought, oh man, seriously, you just walk up through this open hardwoods, like, what a killer video.
Oh, yeah.
Here's what's creeping in my head, and now I'm like, all right, don't screw it up, shoot the bird, don't screw it up or whatever. But, that was as far as he was going to come. I guess, it's just a big, long hardwoods, and then it kind of drops off, and he was like right on that ledge. We never really put eyes on him either. I mean, he was right there, and then he just started going, I guess as much as he came, he was just walking up this draw, and he knew where he was going. Now we had to try to get in front of him, So Scott was like, let's just start swinging around on him, and we're going through these, up and down these little ravines, and, I mean, just perfect turkey habitat. I mean, just a gorgeous wood. But he, as fast as we could get down one and up the other side, he was already through that one, like we were chasing. It took a little while. I don't know, probably got to be half hour or so moving. And then it seemed like he was stationary. He got to where he wanted to go, and he wasn't going any further. But now it was like, okay, great. How are we going to get there with the woods wide open? And, I don't know. I would like to say we're fairly aggressive, taking chances, because I mean, I don't know. kill a lot of turkeys. I'm like, if it don't work out, it don't work out, you know. But I'm
Right.
like, let's do it. So, you know, Scott's like, we got to get on that other side. He goes, I don't know how we're gonna do it without getting busted, but we got to get over there. So we literally, I mean, we sat for a little while and called to him and knew that we weren't going to be able to call him back. So then, you know, we had decided we better make this move or whatever. And you know, I wouldn't say we're belly crawling, but we were hands and knees, you know, down this little ravine, up the other side, and there's a big beech tree up there, and we got to that beech tree, and you know, Scott kind of popped up and put the binoculars up and looked to see if we could see him, and then we just kind of sat there and waited to see if we bumped him. You know, let's just wait, see if he gobbles on his own, make sure we
Yeah.
can. And we got lucky, and sure enough, bird gobbles, and I'm like, oh, he's right there, you know. And Scott looks at me, and it's a terrible setup. I mean, horrible. Like you can't see down in there. There's falling down logs. I mean, it's just not good. You know, typical setup for me. I mean, that's I find myself kind of, but just horrible. He goes, what do you think? Do you think we can get to those two trees? There's a couple of trees about 20 yards in front of us, a big cherry and a big beech. And I'm like, I mean, it's going to be risky. You know, there's no doubt. We can't see him, but we know he's right there. So he finally gobbles again. And again, we hadn't called to him at this point once we got that close to him. So, you know, we just kind of, now we're crawling, you know, we're belly crawling, and, you know, we get around the trees, and we get kind of set up, and we're like, all right, we're here, you know, like, so we just waited, and sure enough, boom, he gobbles finally. So we start calling to him, and you could tell, I mean, in my opinion, you can just tell this bird's an old bird. You know, he's played the game. He knows. I'm like, it's May 5th. It's not like he's been worked a ton, you know, because maybe other guys have worked him or whatever, but he just, I don't know, just acting like a boss, like he just knows, you know. He would gobble, and then, you know, he'd go silent. You wouldn't, you know, he called him a couple times real soft, nothing, you know, and then he'd let out the one gobble on his own just to say, hey, I'm still down here, you know. And this went on for a little while, and Scott finally put some eyes on him. He said, oh, there he is. I can see him. And, you know, he stepped out in the sunlight, and I'll tell you, man, he looked gorgeous from my view. I was looking at him. I go, oh man, just please come up here, you know. I don't want to be begging this early, but I was begging, you know, come on up. And
so he probably off the start, when you heard him way off, and then brought him towards you a little bit, and then he took you back. It's almost like he took you back to his strut zone. Like he knew where he was going, and he was trying to bring you with him.
Correct. He knew where he wanted to go, and he was basically calling us along with him. You know, that you know, and once he got there, then he was like, okay, now you're going to come down here, because I'm not walking up there. You know, he had no part of coming up through that hardwoods, you know, as gorgeous as it was. But I'll tell you what made it really cool when we were watching him. You know, he'd pop in a strut, you know, and he would just stand there and just periscope. Like he would just like, you know, and he'd spit, he'd drum, and boom, he'd pop out a strut and boom, go right up into periscope mode. And he stood there for like a minute to a minute and a half every time he did it. Like he's just scanning the woods. He's not even like always looking up at us. He's looking out in front of him. He's looking behind. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you know, this dude knows. He's been around, you know.
Oh yeah, that's pretty wild.
It was cool. I mean, it was really cool. And you know, I don't know. You know, obviously time had to be, you know, probably another half hour, you know, goes by, and you know, of this going on, we'd see him, then he'd get behind some stuff, and then we'd see him again, and you know, same thing, gobble once or twice, periscope, scan the woods. Well, they're, you know, using the binoculars, which I can't stress enough. Everybody should take a pair of binoculars with them. So Scott's kind of looking down there, and he can see that kind of right where the bird is. He's right on a little edge, just like like there must be a little drop off right behind it. So the bird got down behind it, and he goes, you see that bunch of trees up there? And I'm like, yeah, you know, he's like 40 yards. He goes, dude, I think we go for it. You know, and I'm like, all right, there's 125 yards of open hardwoods between us and him. You know, this is going to be the, you know, the move of all moves if we can pull this off. And you know, we were just kind of waiting for him, because he was moving back to our right. Kind of thought, I'm thinking, oh man, don't go all the way back to where you just, you know, where we first started, you know.
Right.
But I thought, you know, if he gobbles one more time, what the heck, let's take a chance. And, like I said, it is what it is. We bump him. Well, as we're waiting for him to gobble, all of a sudden bird hammers off to our left, and just like out of nowhere, and we're just like, I was like, where's that? He's like, up here. So this bird's above us. Now, skipping forward just a little bit, I would assume that this is the bird that we heard gobbling on the roofs, because it was right in this exact direction.
Yeah.
It's probably the bird that was that we heard gobbling on the roofs. Well, he gobbles, and Scott's like, I'm a left-hander, and I'm on Scott's right. So the bird is on Scott's left. He's like, he goes, dude, we got to switch trees, because if he comes down, I'm going to be shooting right through him. I'm not going to do that, obviously. But he goes, we got to switch trees. So we scramble again. We switch trees, and now it's just kind of messed up. It's a jacked up setup like I'm used to. So nothing out of the ordinary. And I even think in the video you hear Scott's like, he goes, I'm hurting. He goes, I'm just in a bad spot. I'm like, I ain't any better.
That's the worst, is when you got a bird coming and you're just uncomfortable as shit and you just can't do anything about it.
It was terrible. I mean, we're just kind of chilling, but he shut up. He just let that one gobble out, and he kind of shut up, and Scott. Scott was like, God, he goes, it was so close, he might even hurt us. Like, it was that close. Like, he was probably 70, 80 yards from us. And, well, with that, I kind of like looking up where I heard that gobble, and all of a sudden I see something run, like, across this trail, like, going like Mach 1. I was like, what the heck was, I just saw something running. And he was like, what was it? I go, honestly, I have no idea. I go, it might have been a hen turkey, it might have been a coyote. I have no clue what it was. It just went, whoop, right across there. Well, I'm just kind of dumbfounded, and I'm like, oh no, when the bird goes silent, we started calling to him real light, and then the bird down below us starts gobbling, like he's eating up all of it, and now he wants to gobble at the call, because he probably heard the other bird gobble, and I'm like, we're in a good spot, we're just not in a good setup. Like, either one of these birds maybe will come, and it was pretty wild, because the bird, he gobbles one more time out in front of us, and Scott's like, oh, he's right across from us. But again, there's another little drop. So it's almost like, to give you kind of a lay of the land, like, we're going up and down these little ravines. And like I say, they're not deep. They're probably, 20, 30 foot deepers, and they're only probably 40 yards wide. And they're all coming to a point, like, down to where that first bird is. And this gobbler was on the other side. He was across on the next little ravine or whatever. And, finally Scott's like, he's like, oh, I see a bird, and we hear a hen calling. So now Scott gets going on his call, and the hen starts, she's going nuts. Now this bird is just hammering, Scott's got her all fired up. Like, she was pissed, she was not happy. So at that point, when she started calling, I was like, oh, there's no doubt that was a hen probably running to that gobbler. She was probably torqued that we were calling to him or whatever. But he got so fired up, dude. He was committed at that point. He just starts hammering, just and Scott's like, oh, I see a bird directly across from us on the other side of the ravine. And he goes, oh, it's a longbeard, and steps out, and I see the beard, and I was like, oh my God, it's a slammer too. It wasn't long, but it was just like one of those big, thick, like bell-bottom beard.
Paintbrush.
Yeah, it's just a slop paintbrush beard. I was like, oh man. Well, he's walking down the edge of that ravine, like he's going to go down towards the other gobbler. I was like, I seen in my mind, I'm like, oh, he's going to go down there to hang around the other one, and we're going to be in trouble, Well, then there's another bird come behind it. It was Jake, and they walked past us. I guess if you're looking, directly across from us, they walked past us, probably 15, 20 yards. Well, then they turned and they walked right down into the gully, And Scott's like, he's like, dude, get ready. He goes, they are going to pop up, man, and they are going to be like right here, And I'll tell you, I mean, I've been on a lot of turkey hunts, but I had the old ticker was pumping pretty good. You could hear them go down,
Oh yeah.
Walk down, you hear the branches breaking, and then all of a sudden you hear a little wing flop where they jumped across them. There's a little green that down. I go, oh boy, and I just got the gun on my knee and I got it pointed and, popped the safety off. I got the red dot on and whatever, ready to go. And And all of a sudden Scott's like, there he is, and I didn't see him. He was like, he was only about maybe 30 yards just to, I guess it would be off like to my right, like say my 2 o'clock if I was pointing at 12. And of course, I just start to get ready to turn and I see something like right in front of me and boom, the Jake pops up like literally right in front of me. And now I'm pinned, I can't turn on him at all. And I'm kind of got one eye on the Longbeard and he gets behind, there's like a split cherry tree, like right at the base. And he's right behind it, and I was like, oh man, just, if he steps out, there's a wide open trail right there. I mean, this will be killer, but of course, he's behind it and I can't see him, but I mean, obviously now I have the luxury of looking at the video. I can see him just popping, Scott's got a great view of him. He's just standing there in full strut, just proud to be. I can't see that. All I see is this Jake that's now at probably 7 steps and he's just standing there right in my face and he instantly starts, he starts to cluck and I was like, oh boy, this is going to go south like real quick, and Scott's like, shoot him. I'm like, I can't see him,
You probably meant the Jake. Probably didn't shoot the Jake.
I was like, you got to be kidding me. Why couldn't the Longbeard come up here and the Jake be down there? But, that's
right.
How it is. So, luckily, Scott, and I think this is what saved it really. He, even with the Jake that close, and the Longbeard's only, I think it was 25 yards when I ended up shooting him, but he called super, super light. He was just like, boop, 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 like real light on that mouth call. And the Jake kind of chilled. And because the Longbeard popped out of strut when the Jake did that. You can see it in the video. And he just, boom, he popped back in the strut again. He took 2 more steps back. And this time now I can see him right on the side of that split tree. I see one little sapling that's pretty close to him. Like he's probably right next to it. And I'm like, I just swung the gun. Like again, it would be if I can point it at noon, I'm swinging to 2, just that quarter a little bit. And I just kind of swung it over. And he just was starting to pick his head up. And I was like, man, I see a lot of red and blue. And, boom, touched her off and KO'd him right there. And I hopped up quick and, ran down there. But he was, he took the full load. So he wasn't going nowhere by any means. But I was pretty shook up. And
That's awesome.
It was awesome, man. It was awesome. I mean, just, it was an awesome hunt because it wasn't like, I mean, granted, don't get me wrong. I like it when they come in off the, they call them off the roost, they come walking right in and it's good, but it's fun when you gotta do a little work. And, we did a lot of crawling and got lucky on some moves that, you could easily got busted and got away with it. So it was pretty fun.
That's the fun part about it is, one day you can have it where they're going to run right to you and you're going to shoot them. Another day you're going to have it where you got to work your ass off and you'll play the same few birds for 3-4 hours and you might get one, you might not. But
exactly.
That's the fun of the game.
It was awesome. And obviously, I mean, I've been hunting with Scott for, probably 35 years or pretty damn close, if not 35. So we, you get to share it with your buddies. I mean, it was awesome. Just as much as, as I had fun, filming on opening day when, him and Dougie almost doubled. I mean, it was basically the same thing over again. I mean, it was just awesome.
Yeah. He was telling me the double stories, how they can't pull one off together. It's hilarious.
It just seems like it's snake bit. Like, like I was shook up, for this hunt, and I was kind of breathing a sigh of relief. Like it had me worked up, like you're just, I hate it when they're there and like they're in range and you could get them, but I didn't want to, if I make a move and the Jake does something crazy, boom, and he it could be over with me that fast and it just gets you going. But I'll tell you, as much as I was shook up then, I was equally as shook up on Scott's hunt, because you're working the camera, you're in on it and, the birds are right there. And I'm like, they start like a countdown, like they're going to shoot. And I'm just like,
right.
God, yes, and it was wild. It was intense. It was awesome.
One of the last hunting public videos I watched, I think it was, I want to say it was Missouri or something, but the guy recording, he was like, I'm on him. And then the other guy's like, I'm not on him. And then they're like going back and forth and the birds just standing there strutting. And it's hilarious. I think it was, trying to remember who it was. I think it was Ted and Warb. And Warb was shooting.
Uh-huh.
And he's just like, you on him? And Ted's like, no. And then Ted's like, "Oh, I got him good." And Warb's like, "I'm not on him." And then he goes back the other way, and Warb's like, "You on him?" He's like, "No, I don't have him." And it literally went on for, I mean, it seemed like a long time. It was probably like a minute or two of the actual film. And it just went back and forth. And finally he's like, I'm on him. You know, like they were sitting there, just the audio back and forth was hilarious, because they were like, one of them would be like, I'm on him, take him. And then they're like, it's just back and forth. They couldn't figure it out. And then finally they got it. And it was an excellent video, but just that aspect of it is a whole nother element.
Oh my God. It's so, it is wild. It is definitely wild. Like when they were walking up, you know, we could hear the Jake, you know, ended up being the Jake and Tom or whatever, but we can hear them walking up after they went down in the creek, you know, and Scott's like, you got a chance, take them, don't wait for me. I'm like, no, we're going to get it. We're going to get it, or it ain't going to happen. But it almost didn't. I mean, it was lucky. It was lucky.
So did you get both birds on film good, or?
Yeah. I mean, we had a little malfunction. I wouldn't say a malfunction. My camera's a little temperamental. You know, it's a, you know, Canon G20, and when the screen flips out, you can either manually zoom back and forth on top of the camera, or I have a remote, and the remote is obviously easier because now you don't have to have your hand on the camera at all. So like I shoot, and, you know, it scares them or, you know, startles the person or whoever. However, if the camera is like really tight to you, where now you have to make sure that the remote is pointed right at the screen. Otherwise it's not going to work, you know, and it was probably up and down, like the screen was up and down. It just wasn't getting the remote, or I got to change the battery in the remote, which is probably something I should look into, because I don't think I ever have. And it's, you know, 5 years old.
That's a possibility.
So it very well could be that as well. That being said, you know, could we have zoomed in a little closer? Yeah, we probably could have, you know, had we not had the issue. But you can still see both birds, and you can really see the Jake, how close he is right to us, and you
That's
know,
awesome.
kind of validates the story how you know, when they're in your face like that, you just, man, you're like, I'm just frozen, you know.
Oh yeah, you can't flinch, hardly blink.
You know, I even when I was kind of preparing, you know, when he was putting or clucking, doing his thing, and you know, I was kind of half prepared. I was like, you know, if I see that Longbeard come back, if he comes back up the way or go down the way he just came back up, I'm going to turn and shoot. You know, it is what it is, type of thing. And luckily, though, like I said, I think super huge key was Scott making that light call, and it relaxed him again, because he was half strut, you know, and from my angle around that tree, I can only see his head and his neck. From the camera's angle, just the way it was, you can see his full fan. Like he had just popped into strut, you know, and his fan was just coming down when I shot him. So
yeah, that's perfect.
You know, yeah, it was awesome. You know, Scott makes that one timely call that just relaxed him enough to keep him from just bolting down that hill and you know, got him dead. So
I've found with a little bit of recording that I've been doing, like we have one of the little handy cams, and you got to flip the screen out to turn the power on. There's no like iViewer or anything.
Yep.
But I've found like the viewer screen on it is so small that when I'm like trying to zoom in and actually get on what I'm trying to get on and watch what I'm watching and trying to get on it with a video camera, it's extremely difficult.
It is really tough. I know exactly what you mean. And a lot of times, and I made this mistake when we first started with these, you know, back in the day, you know, I would make the mistake of, instead of, I guess when you're the camera guy, like when I'm filming, I try not to look at anything but the screen, because you can take your eyes off the screen, and you're looking out, and what you think you're on, you're not on, you know.
Exactly.
I did it so many times. I got so frustrated. I'm like, just stare at the screen. Just, you know, you're going to view the hunt the same way. Just, you know, this is your job, you know. I'm like,
yeah, right.
Don't mess this up, you know. But it's tough. It really is tough. But
so when you guys think you have those videos uploaded?
I got to post my son's videos like 90% done. I started working on Scott's and Doug's. I haven't touched, you know, the one from yesterday yet. So it'll be soon. It'll be here in the next week or so. And I know we got some other ones. Ryan has a couple hunts done from birds that he killed in Ohio last year that we have to post up. So we got a bunch of stuff coming, which will be good. They'll be hitting here pretty soon. So I guess when the weather gets bad, it'll be good for people to watch.
Yeah. So if anybody listening is looking to check those videos out when they come up, that's going to be on your Hunters Creek page on YouTube, correct?
Yeah, it's going to be on YouTube for sure, and we'll post them on YouTube first, so you can search us on YouTube, Hunters Creek Outdoors, and then eventually they'll end up hitting the Facebook page as well. Obviously the longer videos, I don't want to post a 15-minute video on Facebook, but YouTube is a little easier, obviously, because you can watch it at home,
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'll tell you, I'm excited to, hopefully Scott is too. I'm sure he is. Like, I wanna hunt that other bird. Hopefully Scotty gets a crack at him. We can get him on him and hunt him. But he just seemed like I said, he just seemed like he's played the game, and I can just envision a big old set of monster hooks on him, and hopefully Scott can get on him.
Yours had a good set of hooks on him.
Yeah, inch and 1/16. They were sharp too. They were pointy. It was nice. I was happy, man. I'm telling you, it's a good bird, like a real good bird.
I was checking out the spreadsheet here before we hopped on, and you're tied for best spur.
Oh yeah.
And then the girl Alex that I just did her recording before you.
Mm-hmm.
It was her first bird ever, and 10 3/4 inch beard and 48.25 long.
Oh my God, that is a monster turkey.
Monster bird.
That's awesome.
So, and they had it. They were set up on the edge of a field with a bunch of decoys. A half strutter Jake over a hen and everything. Yep. And they heard clucking coming in, and ended up being 4 or 5 Jakes and a long beard. And he said as soon as the long beard popped out and saw those decoys, he freaking ran right into them, and they shot him at like 7 yards.
Oh my God.
No gobbling whatsoever. But he said as soon as that big gobbler saw those decoys, he got pissed and ran right to him.
That's awesome. I love it when you're running like that.
She was like, I dumped him on the run at like 7 yards.
I'll tell you what, that's impressive, because, you're loaded, the turkey load at 7 yards is not very big. Like, there's no room for error there.
No.
That's
no,
awesome.
I did it once. Well, I guess, yeah, I would say one's that close. I've had a couple under 10 yards, but one I had up north, there was 2 Jakes, and I had gone over 1.5 miles to get the long beard that was with those Jakes.
Yep.
And he wasn't playing, and the 2 Jakes came in, and they circled me, and they got behind the stump that I was sitting on against the edge of the field.
Oh,
and
boy.
It was over my left shoulder, and I'm a righty, so you can't swing your left arm that far, but you can hold the gun with your right hand.
Yeah.
So I got the big freaking 12 gauge, and I swing it around the stump, and he's like 6-7 yards, and I shoot one-handed. I almost think the wad took him out. I don't even know if I hit him with a shot, but I punched myself right in the face.
Oh yeah, that'll do.
Tipped him over, and I got right up and ran over, but I think I almost missed him. I think I only caught him with a couple of pellets. It was that close,
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a good time. I was sitting on top of the mountain on the other side of the road. It was easily 1.5 miles away, and I was like, was that a gobble?
Oh,
and then
boy.
I'm like sitting there, and I'm like, was that another gobble? And there's like this little tiny speck in the field all the way across the road. And I would pull my binoculars up, and I'm like, holy crap, that's a tom strutting. And that's my father-in-law's property over there too. So I freaking ran all the way down the hill and got in the creek bank, went all the way up into the field. I ended up calling in 2 Jakes, and I didn't really care at that point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's a good hunt though. When you're on, you hear them far away and you make the move and you get them in. It's hard not to shoot them. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
And
so you guys gonna hit it hard this weekend or what?
I don't know. The weather's looking a little dicey. It didn't look great in the forecast, but I would imagine, Scott tells me he's going. I'm going to be sitting next to him carrying the camera. So
yeah,
if somebody's going, I'm going to film. That's for sure.
Yeah, I got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so I'm gonna try to make something happen.
Yeah, hit it hard. I just think, I guess I don't want to sound negative, because just because the weather's bad doesn't mean they don't gobble. I mean,
Right.
I got home from, I was out of town. I might have been in Kentucky. I can't confirm or deny that turkey hunting. When I got home right before the youth weekend, I think it was the Wednesday before, and I went to my spot, and it's 30 degrees and the wind's blowing 20 miles an hour and the snow's blowing sideways and the bird's hammering like it's, a 60-degree spring day. So, you can't, I guess, you just can't say, oh, the weather's going to be terrible. I'm not going. Well, they could still be hammering. So
right. I'm hoping at this point in the season, I've said this the last couple of people I've had on, but I'm thinking with the colder weather, I know there's some nests on the ground already. I'm hoping the hens will be setting right up on them and the gobblers will be free. So,
well, here you go.
See what happens.
And maybe Scott told you this, maybe not. We shot that bird, and we got him tagged up and got out of there, got back home, we took the measurements and, all the hoopla and stuff. And he called one of his buddies and said, hey, are you guys out, him and his son? And, my buddy too, obviously one of our friends. And he goes, no, I'm going to go to work. And Scott was like, hey, you want me to pick up Brady? It was one of our friends, Brady Thompson. I think he's probably like 14, maybe, youngster or whatever. And his dad, Stacy, was like, yeah, man, grab him. I'm sure he'd want to go. So we grabbed him and took off to that spot where I heard the bird gobbling in the snowstorm. And, we walked through the woods and we ended up getting a bird to gobble twice. And, some coons started, just stupid luck. Coons started fighting between us and the turkey and just screeching, and, that was the end of the gobbling. But anyway, on our way to him, kid's got some great eyes. I didn't even see it, neither did Scott. Scott's leading the way and Brady's in the middle and I'm in the back. And Brady's like, hey, look at that. And I'm talking like 8 feet away, like literally right there. I thought the bird was dead. It looked like a dead turkey. Bird like laying right out, flat.
Huh.
And I'm like, I go, is it dead? And all of a sudden it moved his head and Scott's like, no, it's a hen. So we're all kind of froze and we tried to like just go sideways. If we hadn't stopped right there, she would have probably let us walk right by her.
Right.
But as soon as we stopped, we looked, we figured out what it was. We just, this is all in a matter of less than 30 seconds. We tried to move just to get away from her. She got up and she ran about 15 yards and kind of stood there and started circling behind us. But dude, she was laying on a nest and there's probably 12 to 14 eggs in it.
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
That was just crazy. I was like, wow. So she's bred, back at the beginning of April sometime.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that hens will be setting up here this weekend and they'll open up some play. So
yeah, I think that's a good call. I mean, I think it's going to get good.
Yeah, that's why when it wasn't too hot this past weekend, I was like, I'm just going to save a day and take it Friday instead of Monday. I got to take a break. I had 3 days of minus from 5:15 to 6:30 the one morning. I hadn't heard anything. So I was like, I got to take a break. I was going sun up till noon, starting to get frustrated. I'm like, I'm just going to keep my 3-day weekends going instead of taking a 4-day weekend. So,
yeah. And it wears you out quick. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I mean, it's May 6th. I didn't go this morning. And I mean, I feel like I've been hit by a truck. Like I just, like it's only May 6th now. Like I shouldn't feel this bad already, but
right.
It is what it is. It's a long season.
Wears on you quick.
Yeah, it does. We always joke, and you always see on Facebook and all the memes or whatever, there's tired and then there's turkey tired. And
that's true.
Turkey tired, won't you?
Oh, yeah. I was joking with my wife the other day. I'm like, I got to go back to work to get some rest.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
So, hey, I appreciate you hopping on and sharing your story again. And congratulations and good luck this weekend. And you never know, maybe we'll hook up again next week.
Hopefully, right? Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. And thanks for having us on. And hey, good luck to you too, man. Smack one,
Thanks.
all right?
Oh, hope so.
Cool.
See ya.
All right, buddy. Take care.